All right. Final part. We got this. We've pounded this out in 4 days. Treasure often takes the form of coins and other types of currency. Raw materials and gems are two other assets that appear frequently. Characters can often use these directly by turning them into items with a crafting skill rather than using coins to buy necessary materials. Magic items come in many varieties, from magic swords that can harm wispy, incorporeal undead, to bags of holding. Bags of holding. Ugh. Ew, bags of holding. I do that in D&D, by the way. I'm not just picking on Pathfinder. Boo hiss to bags of holding. That can hold a king's ransom in a tiny extra-dimensional space. Alchemical items are not intrinsically magical and are consumed when used, but they have a variety of uses, from curing the sick to lighting foes on fire. Apple butter, Imagination Studio. Trust me on this one. Yeah, bags of holding. Pink Knight, you're new to D&D, and I don't want to risk harming you. I don't want to risk harming your sensibilities. But, number one, aesthetically, I don't like extra-dimensional spaces personally. Two, it can make your players, it can have the tendency to make your players greedy, and that greed then can drive them to be what are called murder hobos. And what that means is they kill anything and everything in sight, and because they have an extra-dimensional pocket, they shove everything into it. Everything is killed, everything is stripped, and the party becomes a band of locusts ravaging the countryside. And then, of course, mechanically, it just puts whatever you want in your hand, and you don't really have to worry about consequences of attaining it, curating it, or things along those lines. There's shenanigans where you can try killing people with it. Pneumonica, howdy to you. Good morning. Or, well, appropriate salutation for where you're at. As characters increase in level, they gradually become immune to mundane problems. Bags of holding give them immunity to weight limits. Yep. Your next character is going to be called Murder Hobo now. Just like light, food, etc., they all fall by the wayside. I love that my players question things that they can bring with them on an adventure because of how much their carrying capacity is. So, Pink Knight, is there anything wrong with a bag of holding? Not necessarily. It's a matter of preference. I do not prefer extra-dimensional spaces, and that includes some spells that create extra-dimensional spaces, like Rope Trick, by the way. I also do not prefer parallel worlds, or multiple planes, or extra-planar activity, that kind of a thing. It's a preference thing. If you play in a game, Pink Knight, where bags of holding are given away for free every Saturday in the middle of market, that's fine, because that is what your world has as a part of it. Everyone has a bag of holding. You don't need to feel shameful or guilty for buying one in your first D&D game if it's available. I just have a personal bias for my own reasons, and I at least want to be upfront and forward with you all about it, so that you understand that, you know, just because I have a bias doesn't mean that it's bad, or I'm going to write wizards and go, bags of holding should be removed from D&D 6th edition. Pneumonica, weight limits are the only way keeping PCs from being able to bring everything in the kitchen sink everywhere. Limited capacity forces decisions. However, there are other ways to do it. Pneumonica, yes, I agree. And so when you make carrying capacity or weight or all these other things irrelevant, they come, you know, a party can, not always, it's not a guarantee, your party can become extra greedy and just take everything everywhere. And that can lead into then, I guess we're talking about a slippery slope fallacy, and I'm acknowledging it as such. And then we get into the fact that they're just gonna, they're gonna kill everything that they can. That's a bad guy, hopefully. And they're just gonna take, oh, it's a crappy spear. What does it matter? Throw it in there. We'll trade it to someone else. Meanwhile, you just would have, left it behind, or you'd have carried it a short way, or, and instead it does become what Pneumonica said, and it turns into a gross episode of Hoarders. And I think then the game shifts from an adventure to Pokemon, where you gotta collect everything, and now we're just on a scavenger hunt, and we're not playing a game of D&D. For interdimensional stuff, I think Dark Sun did it well. It was limited, and it was an actual part of the setting, with reasons for being there, and always interacts with the material plane. No arguments. I second imagination. I never got a charge to have one, because people I have played with, the DM stopped playing after the 5th game. Oh, you never had a chance to. You never had a chance to have one because people you've played with, the DM stops. Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that, Pink Knight. And you know what? Consistency is the final boss of every D&D session. Or of every D&D party, every D&D game. Consistency is the killer. Your party has 2 small bags of holding. They're 2 cubic feet and 6 cubic feet. They mainly use them as transportable lockboxes. They have several MacGuffins. Neo Realms, ours always had limits. The deck of many things. You can type in deck if you want to draw from it. In fact, here, I'll give you a free draw. So, Pink Knight, type in !deck. You gain proficiency in the persuasion skill, and you double your proficiency bonus on checks made with that skill. In addition, you gain rightful ownership of a small keep somewhere in the world. However, the keep is currently in the hands of monsters, which you must clear out before you can claim the keep as yours. Yes, the deck of many things is in chat. It's !deck, and it costs 50 experience points. So yeah, Pink Knight, you are fortunate, and you got a daily.
Matty, have been enjoying the wonders of Orlando Earth toddlers and have been a bit absent from streams, bit mad at home today and thought should stop in and say hello.
Daily, thank you very much. I very much appreciate the re-up on the subscription. Enjoy yourself as much as you can with the toddlers in Orlando. And thanks for coming and saying hi, as we're going to conclude the examination of the Pathfinder 2e rulebook. Next week, we're going to try generating random characters, by the way. Yeah, the deck is very feast or famine. And it generally has a bad reputation, because it can just out and out murk your character. So that's another magic item that I don't play with. Now, you want to talk about the apparatus of Qualish. That is the name of it, right? The lobster tank. That's fun. Murder hobos are harder to deal with in D&D since leveling can allow PCs to render armies irrelevant. In a way, I think 5th edition took some of that edge off. You'll never be able to get rid of murder hobos. It'll happen, especially at higher levels. So Neo Realms, the next adventure you go on in chat, if you overcome it, I will double the amount of EXP you earn. So, you want low risk, low reward? Do a random plains or forest. If you want to go high risk, high reward, do a random dungeon, or a random tomb, or a random U-Dark. But if you beat your next adventure, Neo Realms, and also for Pink Knight, I will double your experience points under the condition of the card you pulled. And Volvo shows why the deck of many things giveth, and it also taketh away. Yeah, that's more typical, says Fluffy. Shin the Min, hello to you. Welcome to the conversation. Pull up a chair, you're at a table in a game store. We're talking about Pathfinder, the deck of many things, Dungeons and Dragons, all kinds of stuff. We're talking about socioeconomics, social responsibility. All the stuff that comes up in weird table talk conversations. Neo Realms. The commands are below. There are 6 different adventuring environments. Each one costs more to attempt, but you'll also have a greater chance of getting a reward for overcoming the difficulty. Exclamation random, and then either plains, forest, dungeon, tomb, U-Dark, the letter U, D-A-R-K, or epic. No space. How long have you been playing, Shin the Min? The Tuesday game, Pink, is with people from the community. As PCs, NPCs, and you can even participate in the game by being just in the chat over here, Pink Knight. You can be like a background character. You can shout things out. You can interact a little bit with other NPCs. You can try and get a PC to come over and say hi to you or whatever. So you can roleplay on Tuesdays alongside us. It's not exclusion. It's not an exclusionary thing. It can be less of an issue if you're 15th, but if you are enough of a murder hobo by that level, then, I mean, the consequences get more dire, and you just eventually become the bad guy of the campaign. And then adventurers and armies and powerful wizards and dragons and mercenaries all come after you. Neo Realms, you may not have enough experience points to go into an epic. I think you need at least 2,000 to be able to put up. Pink Knight, type in exclamation point EXP. It will tell you how many experience points you have, and then compare that to the cost down below of what each adventure costs to go through. Pin Death Guard. See, I don't get why more people play hobgoblins or even goblins, or why they don't play it. Well, I mean, look, it's in a splat book, it's not standard, or people might feel weird playing a monstrous race. There's a lot of different psychological gateways or hurdles that people have, or even financial ones. Just access to the material, or if your DM even allows those as playable races. They are in Volos, but it's still an option, Pin Death. Alright, Neo Realms goes into a tomb, a carrion crawler appears. Alright, so you attack with advantage. Neo Realms, if it prompts you to attack with advantage or disadvantage, you roll exclamation point 2d20. Or type. Type exclamation point 2d20. If you are ever prompted to roll normally, it's exclamation point 1d20. Neo Realms, Neo Realms, you have advantage, so you just go ahead and roll 1d20 one more time. Otherwise, you would hit exclamation... Okay, we'll take the reroll. 7 and 5. Unfortunately, Neo Realms, the carrion crawler gotcha. And Neo Realms is drugged further into the tomb to be gobbled up. And Neo Realms, you know what? We might be able to recover your body, and we might be able to get you back alive, though you might not be the same coming out as you were going in. Look, it's kind of a rush job. We paid the cleric under the table. Wow, a lot of you are inheriting property tonight. So Neo Realms, I want you to type in !res, please. REZPLZ. Res, please. Volvo's going for an epic. Can you defeat the dreaded Strahd? Oh, you have disadvantage, Volvo. Thank you, Neo Realms. And Neo comes back as a female dwarf wizard. Seems good. Volvo is now a vampire spawn under the command of Strahd von Zarovich. So you had asked, how do you do stuff? There's a list of commands down below, Pink Knight, that you can use for fun roleplay prompts, interaction. You can go on mini adventures. You can duel other people. You can roll for initiative. There's a lot of other dice rolls that you can do in chat as well. Imagination Studio. So the next adventure you go on, I will double your EXP if you win. And also, you're talking about a Wild Mage Goblin. And you also ran a Kobold Paladin, New Monica. You are thinking outside the box. I like that. Pin Death, thank you also. You're a small, medium, at large. I love that joke, Neo. I like that, yeah. Give me your blood. Now everyone keeps trying to drink my blood. I've had enough. Shin, you can if you want. Yes, AoE, we are finishing up our review of Pathfinder Second Edition Playtest. We're in the final chapter. And Shin, it's up to you. Roleplay what you want. Go on adventures. If you want to generate a character, type in !res, please. And that will generate a character for you. REZPLZ. By the way, so we're getting some new followers, some new people in here. I'm going to add points enough to give all of you a chance at the Deck of Many Things, a res please, or an adventure on the plains. Yep, I will be giving the overall thoughts. Is there a command you can do? Yep, there's Shin. So you are a female dragonborn barbarian, Shin. Alright, so I just got finished saying why bags of holding are literally the worst thing ever. I'm just kidding. I may not play with them in my game, but there's others who do. Are they bad items? Not necessarily. You just have to be prepared for whatever happens with them. Oh, okay, so Shin, you summon the Avatar of Death. Shin, if you adventure down into the !random tomb... I don't know if you have enough EXP for that yet. You'll have to check your experience points. But if you adventure into the !random tomb and you win, I will double your experience points because not only did you defeat the monster, you defeated death. Oh, that's great, AoE. Look, that's something that I wish that I could do on the side because these bots need some tweaking. And, you know, it runs on Python, and that's the language I gotta pick up or find a way to address. Hey, Pat, good to see you. Alright, so Shin, unfortunately, you only have 30 experience points. So unless someone gifts you experience points, because others can gift you points, you'll have to wait 20 minutes to be able to go on a forest adventure or a plains adventure. You don't really need a character, Pink Knight. That's just for fun. So if you want to use your imagination and who is the Pink Knight, go on adventures as the Pink Knight then. Hey, look at that. Volvo went all in. Critical hit. Nice. That's a nice doubling. Pin Death, there is no space between random and planes. How do you give? Exclamation point, give, space, name, space, amount. Oh, cool. Yeah, by the way, everyone, Neo Realms is an artist who does broadcast his art on his channel. I would recommend going and giving him a look. Awesome dude, great at conversation. He has animated mini games. If you think my fun little text-based adventures are fun, he actually has animated mini games on his channel. Great stuff. Alright, so Pin Death, a poisonous snake jumps out. You attack with disadvantage. So type in exclamation point 2D20. Eight and 2, you attack with disadvantage, so you have to take the 2 plus 1 is 3. Unfortunately, Pin Death Guard is bitten by a poisonous snake. Ripperonis. There's a snake in my boot. Alright, so this is going over distributing treasure. Treasure tables. Different materials for crafting. Special non-magical items that detail specific items made of special materials. They aren't magical, but they are especially valuable and more powerful than ordinary items. Probably something like a silver blade, or cold iron, or adamantium, mithril, or something. Snares are traps made by rangers. Alchemical items for the alchemist class. Runes can be etched into weapons and armor to improve them or give them magical properties. Okay, this tells you how to read it. This should be pretty self-explanatory here. There's definitely a lot of vocabulary words in Pathfinder. And so just like I didn't go over every spell that exists or every trait of a spell or every trait of a weapon, because there's a lot of different weapon traits also in Pathfinder. As we go through items and something catches your interest, let me know and we can go back and review this. Dueling, if you're battling, a battle needs 100 or more. Or if you want to risk it all, and all is 100 or more, you can type in all. Dueling can be any number, even 0. So if you just typed in exclamation point duel imagination studio, and you either put 0 or left it blank, you're kind of having a duel for honor, because no experience points will trade hands, but it will still declare a victor. You can also do fun things like roll initiative, or you can also do a fun roleplay prompt like this. Who goes there? Imagination Studio, is that you? It stops and moves forward and suddenly responds. Curse lit. Oh, we're under attack. Pew, 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 pew. Imagination Studio, why are you attacking the party? Ah, yes, the infamous Bulk. And by the way, as we have established, Bulk... Oh, he's taken out on the party because he was salty you won, Shin? That's right, Imagination Studios the traitor. Remember, Bulk is to be typed in all capital letters. Okay? I will accept nothing less. You may add an optional second K if you so desire. So yes, magical items can have a bulk value. Activation, investiture, and onset. If an item requires activation or investiture to use more vocabulary words, these entries in the item stat block indicate which activations a character need to take. Full rules on activation and investiture appear on 376 to 377. That's probably like a method of attuning using your resonance points. Pneumonica, we have been going over, and I have been fair by declaring that I have biases and that this is also playtest material. As it is presented, I would not prefer to play nor run in this system. Because there is so much, there's so many rules. There are so many mechanics. There is so much that is mechanized that to me, it feels like it dehumanizes the player and it dehumanizes the party who's engaging in an intrinsically social setting. And instead encourages min-max. Now look, I'm saying this, if you min-max, I'm not going to lose any sleep. We all play for different reasons. I don't min-max. I don't especially care for min-maxing players because I'm not going to adjust my story. And if you make a Bolt Crush character that can drop, that can drop all my monsters in 2 rounds, well, congratulations. You've won D&D. So I do not prefer a crunch heavy, rules heavy, everything has a special vocabulary word and everything has a measured out action. That is my personal bias and my personal preference. And I am being forward about that. Now, some of you out there might say, what are you talking about, Matt? I love this sort of thing. I want more options. I want to be able to custom tweak and fine tune. I want to be able to min-max. I want to be able to mitigate. I want to be able to build this absurdly quirky character that I just can't do in D&D. And you know what? For the most part, you're probably correct. You can't do that in D&D. So there are pros and cons. Overall, though, I do not prefer this system. This is one man's opinion. Yeah, I thank you for listening, Imagination. I'm really trying not to just put it out there like, yeah, what do you think, guys? Isn't this a sucky system? Oh, I hope none of you play it, and I'm going to use my bully pulpit to pressure you into it. I do not want that at all. At times, I may have sounded exasperated or even a little snarky, but I really am trying to give this a chance to understand it and challenge myself, because there's actually things about this system I do like. What? Yes, it's true. Pat, D&D is about winning. My numbers are bigger, and therefore I win D&D. Just based on what I'm hearing here, it seems like they've rolled several supplements worth of materials into the main rules, which in turn makes them less optional. It's just so... Mnemonica, to determine a perception check, there are 9 variables that you must constantly account for to make a perception check. The character customization is beyond reproach. You can super de-duper customize your race, your class, or if you don't like your class, you can take archetype feats. So you have racial feats, or they're called ancestry feats, class feats, archetype feats, skill feats, and general feats. And then there is all of the skills in which you have 4 different degrees of specialization. And depending on your specialization, you can use those skills in certain ways if you're trained or untrained. Now, there are 4 different sensory types that you can be, that you're either sensed, hidden, seen, screened, blocked. There is a name and a mechanic for everything, I think, except your character going off the road and taking a whiz behind a bush. Although that could be in an appendix somewhere. The writers of this system have been extremely thorough in assigning a mechanic to everything that could come up. And turning the flow of gameplay into an economy of actions. You know, we talk about economy of actions. Here you have a scarce amount of actions and an almost unlimited amount of actions you could fill your 3 slots per turn. Shin, sorry, I was on a soapbox. Kobold Mage pops out. You roll a disadvantage. 14 and 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. Shin, you just barely got in there and defeated the Kobold Mage for 75 experience points. Pink Knight, take care. Thank you for watching and being a part of the community. I hope to see you around later. We'll help get you into D&D, okay? If your character farts, is that a free action or a combat action that forces other characters to make a poison save? I'm sure we can find rules for it in here, Pat. See, at any point, I'll play Savage Worlds. Just roll it all into edges. Don't bother with classes. Hey, Captain! Speaking of other broadcasters, Captain Milne, how was your Pew Pew session? I hope you had a lot of fun. By the way, for those of you who do watch our broadcast games, unless he's here to break my heart, Captain said at least for a short while, he can help me get things done on the back end of the game as kind of a shadow prime minister of the game, to get things going again after Doctor had to drop out. It was long and glorious, says Captain Milne. Shin, you roll at advantage. Yep, unfortunately, the giant wolf spider bites you, cocoons you, and drags you off, Shin the Min. Alright, so here's a party treasure by level. It's giving you, monetary goals. It's giving you Look, how many consumables might you find of certain levels, permanent items. Do I need to go over this? This is a random table for you to access. Talks about rarity of the rarity of items. Treasure for new characters. Whether you're starting a campaign at a higher level, a new player joins an existing group, or a current player's character dies and she needs a new one, your campaign might have a PC who didn't start at first level. In these cases, refer to the character wealth table, which lets you know how many common permanent items of various levels the PC should have, plus additional currency. The player can spend her currency as she wishes on the consumables or lower level permanent items, keeping the rest as coinage. The value, okay, so you can refer to it and you can keep the change. So here is all kinds of, here's first level treasure, second level treasure, third level treasure. You could buy an elixir of anti-plague. Which, by the way, I do appreciate this. What page can you find it on? Thank you. That is actually very handy, especially because you have treasure charts for all 20 levels in the back of your book. And so, therefore, I am going to expect to see a great... yeah, here's all sorts of materials, which, by the way, here's the hardness. If you have something made out of steel, it has a hardness of 5. And so if you're making a shield, or you're making a suit of armor, and you want to know how many dents it can take, and the hardness and all that, you can find that here. Armor bulk, oak. Orichalcum, oh my, we're getting into legendary metals here. Dark wood, cold iron, adamantine, silver. There's mithril. Yeah, we got some mithril, boys. Now, by the way, this does suggest a character level to obtain this. Now, is it saying that a level 2 character can't wear or use a cold iron warhammer? Not necessarily, but it does say that if you give characters these items below the level indicated, it could throw off the math. When you see something at item level 2, you're like, what's the huge difference between 1 and 2? That it's locked away behind level 2 and the math is completely destroyed at level 1. But, so that's where you get item level 7, item level 15, etc. and so forth. If you're a ranger, you can make all these traps or snares. Mutagens are things that you can make as an alchemist. Just different potions. Runes are things you can carve into your weapons or armor to make them better. And you can upgrade them. There's rules for it all, I promise you. And it tells you how you can use it. And then, we get to the back. So, Holy Avenger, Dagger of Venom, a Gloom Blade. There is... If you want to see a magic item, oh, here's a Luck Blade. But yeah, if you want to see any of these in particular, let me know. But just like we did with spells and all of the different feats, we didn't go over all of them because there's just so many. But this is giving you an idea of just how much stuff is in here. Ring of the Ram, Ring of Wizardry, goes into item crafting. And finally, we come back to the appendices, and every special word that exists in this game is defined back here. In fact, let's take a look. So we're on 413. So there's about 10 pages of glossary in the back. Which can't... Look, honestly, I think you're going to get a ton of use out of the glossary as a new player, or even as a medium-term player until you learn things. I think the glossary and the index are going to be intrinsically useful to you for playing this game, so you can quickly reference what the heck everything means, or what charts are where. I'm not saying this sarcastically. I think very real. This is actually a book where the glossary and the index are going to be crucial to your enjoyment of the game. Oh no, Shin! What a mess! Thank you for cleaning it up, though. I very much appreciate that, Shin the Men. Oh, 9.5. Okay. Thank you, Pneumonica, for the assist. Oh, Volvo. Oh, Volvo. Come on, bruh. You're better than that, Volvo. Alright, sorry, I fell a little bit behind here. So, Captain says, long and glorious. You take a bow. Captain, yeah, I love your icon, man. That pirate with the red beard. Oh. I'm jealous, because I do not have emoticons yet. The D20 roller, I think it has generated 20s before. Now that you mention, I don't know. Pneumonica, I do believe you're correct about 5th edition and Treasure Generation. Megatron Riker, hey, it's good to see you, man. Welcome. Hey, you up on Discord? Yep, no problem. See you later, Captain. Orichalcum Adamant is the Japanese red fire metal in there as well. No, I don't think so, Pneumonica. After going through it. Oh, experience points. Do I owe you some EXP, Shin? Oh no, you need to get more. Gotcha. Yeah, oops, sorry, spilled the bits on the floor. I mean, you can continue adventuring, Shin. You don't have to do a res, please. Just have fun, roleplay with it. You can roleplay in chat as much as you want. Yeah, maybe someone in chat wants to go rescue you, Shin. Captain, you're going to try out helping as much as possible. I just need to get into more details in Discord. Yeah, we'll talk later. Go to bed. Get out of here. Come on. Go on, get you, varmint. Shoo! Get out of here. You youngin'. I'll shake my cane at you and tell you to get off my lawn. You know, after going through this rulebook, I kind of feel like I'm empowered now to understand EULAs and read them and understand them. And here's the character sheet. Although here for your benefit, I have turned it 90 degrees. And so this is what a character sheet looks like in not in 5th edition, in 2nd edition Pathfinder. Does this do much to dispel the fact that you are probably playing a spreadsheet simulator? I don't know. That's up to you to decide. Does it even matter to you? Look, if you're having fun, I don't care what numbers you're rolling, what dice you're rolling. If you and your friends are getting together and you are enjoying role-playing, that's what matters most to me. That's what I want. And if Pathfinder facilitates that, then haha, I win. Meh. So with this, why don't I... Alright. Yeah, you whippersnapper, Captain Milne. Pathfinder, especially with what we've read here, appears to be a solid game of deep character creation. Highly mechanical, highly customizable. It is a game where there's a rule for everything, and you can look it up, and it should be there. It is a version of D&D that does take kind of a step aside from the standard way to present races and classes by actually allowing that level of customization. There are aspects to Pathfinder Second Edition that I very much enjoy. I like their critical system, where it's not just 1s and 20s, but did you succeed on a check or on an attack by 10 or more? That still counts as a critical. I may use that. I don't know yet, but I may use that. Or if you fail, then it's a critical failure, not just a 1. There are some other aspects of Second Edition that I appreciated as well. I really like what they did with the concept of the barbarian. It is the playtest version right now, Megatron. It won't be officially released until next Gen Con. Pneumatica, this strikes me the same way that the player's option books for 2E struck me. It's a lot of good ideas, way too many good ideas, and way too much. That is an excellent summary about what, if I were to fault this system, it is that there is so much here to consider. I see this as distracting at the tabletop. I see this as causing arguments. I see this as feeling overwhelming. And I see this as not being new player friendly. Now, is that a requirement for any role-playing game? Heck no. We're about ready to get into Vampire the Masquerade 5th Edition coming out later this autumn. I believe it's later this autumn. I forget when exactly. Do you think that's going to be new player friendly? Probably not. I unfortunately feel that the mechanic-heavy nature, unless you can divorce mechanics from role-playing as a player, which is difficult even for seasoned players or GMs to do, I feel that your character is going to be a description of all the cool stuff you have, and not a person. You aren't running a character, you're running a vehicle for mechanics. And I think that takes away something from role-playing. And it makes me concerned. It takes away the significance of the deity you choose for your character, because your deity is really just a stat line that gives you stuff. It takes away... In D&D, you could argue all the elves are the same. Or at least all wood elves are the same, all drow are the same, and that's fine. But in D&D, would you describe your character as a, I'm an elf who does this and that and the other thing? Or would you say, oh, my elf is so cool. He has these 4 elven feats. And he's an archer, and I took all these other feats. And all of a sudden, you're not describing a character to me. You're describing a pile of words and math. And frankly, I don't care what the math behind your character is. I want to know who your character is. I want to know how your character is compelling. What are you doing to change the world aside from adding 9 variables to get a perception check? And so I'm concerned. And not players. I'm not trying to protect them against some big, bad, evil Paizo. Paizo's been around for a while. They're successful. They've been doing this. They've been publishing a lot longer than I've been even playing. I worry maybe a bit on Paizo's behalf because this could be a refinement from Pathfinder First Edition, which I haven't played, and so that's a bit of a handicap in this review. I can't tell you if Second Edition is better than First Edition. I imagine it's refined. I can trust them there. But when we see a game like 5th edition D&D be so popular and so popularized and bought into, and this is how people are learning to roleplay, people are cutting their teeth on a very rules-light, very story-heavy, imagination-heavy. You know, you may not be an elf with 4 different feats, but that gives you room to be the elf you want to be up here, which is intrinsically unique from any other elf, even though your mechanics are the same. And even then, you could talk to your DM about swapping stuff out. But I just worry that they are going to invest into this and realize, what if the market, what if their target numbers, whatever they are, I don't have their industry statistics, what if this hurts them as a company? Because they publish this and people are like, okay, it's new. And they invest in it and they're like, ain't nobody got time for this. I have kids. I have pets. I have a job. I don't have time to spend, you know, my 4 hours a week I can roleplay with people, to have my nose in a book, to learn the copious amounts of rules and rulings. I don't want to have to argue with my GM or my fellow PCs over how a mechanic works, because I'm the only person with this one exception where everything else it's the same otherwise. Or as a GM, I don't want to have to learn all of this custom verbiage and just, you know, 9.5, thank you, Pneumonica, 9.5 pages of glossary terms. I want to run a role-playing game. So what can you do in Pathfinder you can't do in D&D? And we, by the way, while I'm comparing these two, there are obviously a lot more. I don't know, you want to take it out to Deadlands? You want to take it into GURPS? You want to take it into Dark Heresy? You want to take it into Made RPG or OVA or Golden Sky Stories? You want to take it into All Flesh Must Be Eaten, Mouse Guard, Lamentations of the Flame Princess? You want to take it into Gamma World? You want to take it into Song of Ice and Fire role-playing? So I feel fortunate that they believed in the community enough and they're willing to take whatever licks they get from the community in terms of the presentation. That's a cool move on their part, especially because it's clear Paizo spent a lot of time and a lot of effort on making this this playtest rulebook. I commend them for that. I don't know if anyone in Paizo will ever see this now live or when it ends up on YouTube. I commend you all over at Paizo for putting this together. Respectfully, though, for this one person, your game is not for me. And I do not see myself running it in its current state, nor playing it in its current state, because I feel it undermines role-playing and replaces it with a game of random number generation and manipulation at its core. There is also some wording in the book that I don't disagree with the concept. I disagree with its placement inside the book. Especially when it seems that otherwise content that could be very cool later on in the book then appeared a bit as a glaring hypocritical, like a blatant disregard of the other topics that you had brought up earlier. And that sucks because I shouldn't have to feel awkward about the things that you put in your book. Especially when you tell me that I shouldn't feel awkward about the things that are brought up in Pathfinder. Shin the Min goes into the forest. You have advantage against the troll. 6 and 17. Yep, advantage, you keep the highest. So, Shin the Min, you win 100 experience points. New Monica, World of Darkness hasn't been new player friendly in any edition. It benefited greatly from goths who were willing to cut through all that stuff for vampires and werewolves. Yeah, some systems are just made for a more advanced level. Or it's more esoteric and you really just got to be in the mood, right? I like flying in planes. They get me from point A to point B. I appreciate how they work. I understand the basic concepts of flight. I am not interested in the components of the engine, and so if I were to sit down in an airplane repairman's class, I would feel lost or I would feel bored. Now, someone who loves flight and loves engineering and loves engines and all of this stuff sitting next to me is going to be in his or her seat going, yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's a fuel pump. Ah! And meanwhile, I'm going, a fuel pump? Oh, yeah, a fuel pump. There's like one in every engine, right? And so different RPs call out to different people. Out there are people who want this crunch. They want to delve into it. Like I say, we're on Twitch. This is a platform where we see people execute frame-perfect glitches 2 hours into a 4-hour run. And if they don't get it, they reset after 2 hours. Well, some do. I am not going to call anyone out who loves this kind of attention to detail, this pure amount of crunch and customization and fine-tuning. Bless your mess. I'm just a very... I'm a loosey-goosey, hippie storytelling DM. And so, personally, it's just not for me. Hello again, Victor. If I didn't say so before, I'm sorry. I've been on a bit of a rant. Pneumonica, like I say, many of these subsystems are stuff that is found in first edition Pathfinder and supplements. Being in supplements, they were quite optional. Each one added complexity, but it could be scaled to taste. This is putting all of it there at once with no filter. King says, quote, Paizo has announced that they are working on the second edition of Pathfinder, which will be released in August of 2019. It makes several changes and will make both Goblins and Alchemists core choices. Will probably include elements of Starfinder. Also, after decades of deflecting criticism with 4E blah blah, the devs naturally put in a dig at the infamous 4E Forgotten Realms, while listing what they would not do to Galarion. The playtest will hit August 2nd, 2018. The dig at 4E is hilarious, as TG has pointed out. Many of the planned mechanics are literally exactly the same kind of mechanics that 4E did itself. Just trading 4E's dry but easy to read, mechanically focused layout style for natural layout style that can make it harder to figure out how the mechanic actually works. I would agree that this does resonate with 4th edition greatly, King. Your campaign's taking form. The hunt is changing and thickening. Well, so you have recruited players now, Victor, or are you just conceptualizing more of what you want to run in your campaign? Don't forget the sun I pulled, just in case you didn't see it. Are we backed up on EXP? I mean, King, I've said my piece, and I've put it out there for all you to judge. If you want to share your opinion or the opinions of some others, you're welcome to do so, and we can consider it. Looks like I got to go back and look at some... So I gave Shin... I should have given, yeah. So Shin got 100 from doing the troll. And then... Who else? Well, Volvo got stuck in the void. Did I miss something from even before then? Well, no, because Shin lost to the giant wolf spider, so I think I'm caught up. You gain a level and a wondrous item which the DM determines randomly appears in your hands. Oh, so here, I can give you some EXP for that sun. Ah, gotcha, Victor. I'm glad you're getting in the mood for that. You know, you running horror games can be a lot of fun. Pin Death, there is no space between random and the biome in which you want to adventure. King says, it seems that anything that costs a single action is an action. It seems that anything that costs a single action is an action. Wait, what? TJ goes on a trip into the plains. A null pack. Uh-oh. Advantage 5 and 1. Well, at least you didn't fall on your sword. Oof. It seems that anything that costs a single action is an action, whereas anything that costs 2 or more actions is an activity, unless it's a spell, which is always an activity. Because individual casting actions are the actions, this would imply that a high jump or a long jump is an activity, whereas a combat grab is an action. This also means that it is impossible to ready a spell, because ready works on actions and not activities. That's probably the case, King. And it's also, things like opportunity attacks is something that only a fighter can do. I mean, so it takes some conventions, and it's turning it on its ear. Uh-oh, Volvo. Well, Volvo, the next time... Well, if you go into the Underdark and beat the Underdark, I'll double your experience points, because that's, devils live down in the ground. Apparently, once again, the Ranger got shafted, and most people are entirely uninterested. I think this is a good chance for them to actually do more new stuff. I love what they did with Barbarian. It took the basic Barbarian concept, and it put a lot of cool stuff into it. And people playing Bard have felt regret since it's entirely underwhelming. Well, I've appreciated. I mean, King, you can keep comments and we can still talk about it. But I just want to say here, I've very much appreciated this as a conversation, as something to make you all think. And you know what? If you all go on to play Pathfinder Second Edition, the playtest, or the playtest, or when it finally comes out at next Gen Con, let me know about it, please. I'm not bitter. I don't wish Paizo ill. This is a playtest of a game that is built on a convoluted version of a 20-ish-year-old system. It has crunch. It is meant for people who like that particular interface. So, thank you very much.